It's late in the evening. A couple sits across from each other at their kitchen table. She tries to share something that upset her. Maybe it was a comment he made in front of friends, or a feeling of being left out. Instead of meeting her with warmth or curiosity, he grows quiet. His jaw tightens, his eyes turn away. The silence thickens in the room, heavy and cold. He doesn't raise his voice or storm out. He simply withdraws, arms crossed, a wall rising up between them. This scene is common in many relationships. It's not dramatic, there is no shouting, no slamming doors, but the emotional chill is real and powerful. For the partner, it can feel confusing and hurtful. She may wonder what she did wrong, or why he won't talk. For him, the silence isn't just about shutting her out. It's about shutting down a rising tide of feelings inside himself. Underneath, something deeper is happening. He is angry, but not in the way most people imagine. He isn't raging. He isn't even sure what he's angry about. It's a quiet, controlling kind of anger, and it's a lot more common than most of us realize. When we think of anger, we often picture loud voices and heated arguments. But anger has many faces. For many men in relationships where they hold more power, whether through money, status, or emotional influence, anger often shows up as silence, withdrawal, or subtle control. This isn't the kind of anger that breaks things. It's the kind that freezes the room. This quiet anger can look like refusing to answer questions, giving one-word replies, or changing the subject. Sometimes it means making decisions alone, or acting as if the other person's feelings don't matter. It can be hard to spot because it doesn't seem violent or dramatic. Often this anger is not about punishing the other person. It's about protecting oneself. When emotions rise, especially ones that feel confusing or threatening, some men use silence or control to manage their own discomfort. They don't want to feel exposed or out of balance, so they close off. This type of anger is quiet but powerful. It leaves the other person feeling alone, even when they are sitting right next to each other. It is a way to hold on to power when emotions feel too risky. Imagine a man who earns more money than his partner. When she brings up a concern about their spending, he shuts down the conversation with, "I pay the bills, so let me handle it." The words are calm, but the message is clear. His power gives him the final say. Or picture a couple where he decides what the family does on weekends. When his partner suggests something different, he quietly ignores her, making plans without consulting her. Sometimes, this anger is even softer. A man might start doing chores silently, slamming a cabinet or sighing loudly, sending a message of irritation without saying a word. Or he may suddenly become busy with work every time a tough conversation comes up. These moments seem small, but they add up. In each example, the man isn't yelling or being openly aggressive. Instead, he uses his position or control of the situation to avoid uncomfortable feelings. The anger is about holding on to the way things are, keeping control, instead of risking vulnerability. These small acts of power can quietly shape the whole relationship. Over time, they teach both partners that some topics are off limits, and that emotional honesty is not safe. From a young age, many boys are taught that showing feelings is dangerous. Tears, fear, or even too much joy can be seen as weaknesses. Be tough, they hear. Don't let anyone see you sweat. As they grow into men, these lessons get stronger. In relationships, the message becomes, don't let your partner see you hurt or confused. Instead, many men learn to value control. Control over their emotions. Control over the situation. Sometimes control over the people they love. This isn't always a conscious choice. It's a habit, built over years of trying to stay safe. By adulthood, the idea that real men don't show vulnerability is deep inside. When a partner brings up difficult emotions, it can feel like a threat to that sense of control. Instead of opening up, many men shut down. Silence becomes a shield. Withdrawal becomes a way to keep power in the relationship. This pattern isn't about being heartless. It's about being afraid. Afraid of being seen as weak, and afraid that feelings will lead to chaos or rejection. At its core, this kind of anger is often about feeling helpless. When a partner expresses pain or disappointment, it can touch old wounds, times when the man felt small, powerless, or not enough. Instead of facing these feelings, he reaches for what he knows: control. Anger, especially the silent, controlling kind, offers a sense of safety. It's a way to push away feelings that are just too raw or confusing. By becoming cold or distant, a man can avoid looking at his own fears. Ironically, the more he tries to control or shut down, the less control he actually has. The relationship becomes strained. trust erodes. But in the moment, the silence feels safer than saying, "I don't know what to do," or "I'm scared you'll leave me." It's important to see that this anger is not about hurting the other person. It's about not wanting to feel hurt himself. It's a defense, not an attack. Let's take a simple scenario. A woman tells her partner that she feels lonely. She misses how close they used to be. She says, "I wish you'd hold me more." He feels a wave of panic. To him, this request feels like a criticism. He worries he's failing as a partner. Instead of sharing that fear, he goes quiet. Maybe he changes the subject or he gets up to do something else. She is left feeling rejected, while he feels overwhelmed and ashamed. This is what happens when power distorts emotional safety. He uses silence to keep the upper hand. He avoids the risk of being seen as not enough. She learns that sharing her feelings only leads to distance. Neither person gets what they want. He doesn't have to face his own vulnerability, but he also loses real connection. She doesn't get comfort or closeness. Over time, both partners feel more alone. This simple scene shows how quickly power and the need for control can break down emotional safety. It's not about cruelty, it's about fear. When silence and control become the default response, intimacy suffers. Partners stop sharing their true feelings. They tiptoe around each other, avoiding subjects that feel dangerous. The relationship becomes less about connection and more about keeping the peace. The emotional distance grows. Resentment builds up, often unnoticed. The partner on the receiving end of the silence may lose trust, feeling unloved or invisible. The man behind the wall of anger may feel misunderstood and alone, trapped by his own defenses. Over time, this pattern can lead to a slow, quiet breakdown of the relationship. Both people may feel stuck, unsure how things got so cold. The habits of silence and control become hard to break. Intimacy is built on safety and openness. When power is used to avoid vulnerability, true closeness becomes impossible. Both partners suffer, even if no one ever raises their voice. It's important to name what this pattern is, and what it is not. The silence and control described here are about imbalance, not always abuse. Not every man who withdraws or controls is trying to harm his partner. Often he is trying to protect himself from feelings he doesn't understand. That said, power imbalances can become abusive if they are used to control, belittle, or isolate a partner on purpose. But most of the time, these patterns are about old habits and silent fears, not cruelty. Understanding this difference matters. It allows us to talk about these patterns with compassion, not blame. It helps men see that their silence isn't a personal failure, but a learned response, one they can change. The first step is awareness. Men can learn to notice when they are using silence or control instead of connection. Partners can learn to ask for openness, not just answers. Change starts with small steps. The first is to name what you're really feeling. If you notice yourself getting quiet or withdrawing, pause. Ask yourself, am I hurt, scared, ashamed? Naming the feeling is powerful. It takes away some of its control. Next, notice your habits. Do you try to solve problems by taking charge? Do you use silence to end a conversation? These habits were learned and they can be unlearned. Try telling your partner, "I'm feeling overwhelmed," instead of shutting down. Practicing vulnerability feels risky, but it is the path toward real connection. When you share your true feelings, you invite your partner to do the same. Over time, the power dynamic shifts. Instead of control, there is teamwork and trust. Finally, remember that real strength is not about control. It's about connection. It takes courage to be open, to say what's really going on inside. This is what builds intimacy and safety, in yourself and in your relationship.